Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe. Welcome to Rosenfield 10, and today we're gonna talk about this past weekend's matchup, NFC South divisional matchup between our beloved, bless you boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints, and our dreaded, evil, arch nemesis rival, the Dirty Bird Falcons from Atlanta. And of course, if you're a Saints fan, you already know the Saints dropped this one in disappointing fashion. Final score Falcons 26, Saints 24. It was one of them games where it seemed like the Saints had a decent little plan and kind of lost to themselves. The Falcons had to be there at the right time to jump on the ball and stuff like that. But yeah, we kind of beat ourselves. A couple of turnovers. We only forced one, so we lost the turnover battle. And they scored touchdowns on both those turnovers. And that's the only touchdowns the Falcons got. They didn't get a lot of yards. They only managed 12 points as an offense. And our defense looked great until it came to crunch time once again. And this time it was Paulson Adebo. He's not going to be re-signed by the Saints for $20 million a year. You can get that idea out the window right now. He would have to really, really turn it around at this point because he's reverted back to the same old stuff of pass interference over and over again in crucial times. You know, he did have 10, uh, 12 tackles, total tackles, and three passes defense. He had an interception. And then he had the one big PI at the end of the game that set the Falcons up in field goal range to win the game. So there's a there's a lot to talk about. You know, I'm not happy about it right now. I'm in a bad mood, but I was in a worse mood yesterday. Decided to get the stats, so we're gonna pull up the offensive stats and let's talk about it. Derek Carr, 28 of 36, 239 yards, no touchdowns, one interception. Carr was good throughout the majority of the game. The interception he threw was a deflection. However, he should have grounded it. He should have thrown it to the turf. He shouldn't have tried to get it through the linebacker's arms. So, you know, Carr's good to make a mistake every now and then. And yeah, that one's on him. Even though it was a ricochet up in the air, kind of. This is the second year in a row that Carr's thrown a pick six in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So Carr was sacked one time. So I got to say, you know, we're I'm disappointed about the outcome of the game. Quite honestly, I've come to the conclusion that we're probably not going to get very far as long as we have to deal with all of these injuries. And it's not a question of just having everybody back because Eric McCoy isn't coming back for a while. But the Saints decided to keep Lucas Patrick at left guard. They started Shane Lemieux at center, and they started Landon Young at right guard in the place of Cesar Ruiz, who had to miss the game. You know, Alvin Kamara was dealing with ribs and a hip pointer. Chris Olave was dealing with the hamstring. Demario Davis missed the game because of a hamstring. You had your starting center who's going to be out for probably 6 to 8 weeks, no less than 4 games. And then you had Cesar Ruiz, your starting right guard, not playing either. Luckily, we were able to get Chris Olave and Kamara on the field. Olave was hurting by the end of the game. He had a good game, though. We're going to talk about the rushing first. Alvin Kamara, 16 carries, 77 yards. That's 4.1 yards a carry. He had one touchdown, the go-ahead score with 60 seconds left in the game. Yeah. And I knew it was too much time for Atlanta. Our defense held Atlanta pretty good all game. We had a problem with Tyler Algier, but we bottled up Bijan Robinson pretty good. And yeah, the real disappointment on the defense is the defensive line. Let's get through these offenses stats first. Taysom Hill was healthy for the first half, had 6 carries for 24 yards. That's a 4 yard per carry average. He had 2 touchdowns. It seemed like he was definitely the missing ingredient. And as long as he was on the field, we were going to do well. And then he had to leave the game. And apparently it was his chest rib area again, but on the other side, not the side that he missed time last week for. So at 34 years old, it's going to be difficult to keep Taysom Hill healthy and on the field all the time. You know, right now we could use him for a good 10 to 20 touches, but it's just not going to happen. I hope that Clint Kubiak can figure out a way to have his offense work without Taysom Hill in the game because Taysom's a special player. You're just not going to replace him with any old body. But I'm pretty sure Clint Kubiak has an idea of what he needs for his offense to work. Did we address it in this past draft enough? No. And then are we going to next year? Well, if the coaching staff sticks around and all that. So, yeah, but there's certain players that, you can't replace, and Hill's one of them. Seriously. 2 touchdowns in the first 2 drives, and then he goes out and we lose the game. Rashid Shaheed had 2 carries for 14 yards. Jamal Williams had 3 carries for 11 yards. And Derek Carr had 2 quarterback sneaks that gained nothing at the goal line. And then he had 1 run for 5 yards. So he ends up with 3 carries for 5 yards. Receiving, Chris Olave on a bum hamstring ends up being the player of the game for me. 8 catches on 10 targets for 87 yards. Rashid Shaheed had his best day receiving as a Saint with 8 catches for 83 yards. He was targeted 11 times. I say his best day, I mean the most receptions he's ever had in a game for the Saints. He's had much bigger games, but he fumbled a punt return, which led to a touchdown for the Falcons. And that's a problem. That's an issue. And it really stains this otherwise pretty good day for the guy. There was a whole game to play after he made that mistake. And we had the lead after he made that mistake. So I'm not going to be too harsh on Shaheed, but it was a boneheaded play. Alvin Kamara had 7 catches for 42 yards. He was targeted 9 times. And there you go. You see those receiving stats. It's always going to be this way with Clint Kubiak. It's going to be your 2 receivers and your running back. You hope the tight ends can get involved, but that's not really happening right now. Jawan Johnson had 2 catches for 13 yards. He was targeted 3 times, and he whiffed on a couple of blocks, including the interception thrown by Derek Carr. He missed that block completely. Jamal Williams, 2 carries, 8 yards, or 2 catches, 8 yards on 2 targets. And Mason Tipton was targeted once. He caught it for 6 yards. That's my issue with the receiving on this team. It's just, it seems like there's not enough players running routes. And, you know, Derek Carr's got 3 reads every time. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Alvin Kamara, and that's it. I need to see more creativity. I gotta say the offense produced today. They came through in the clutch when we needed it, and the defense who came through all game long for us as well. Couldn't hold up on that last drive. It was really just pass interference call that lost us the game. A fumbled punt, an interception return for a touchdown thrown by Carr, and a pass interference that gives Koo way too easy of a field goal. So I don't know what to say, man. The offensive line was good. patchwork. There was some pressure in the middle. Uh, but what can you say when you're missing McCoy, Ruiz, A.T. Perry didn't play, Demario Davis missed the game, and then as the game progressed, Willie Gay gets hurt pretty early. He was already taking Davis's place basically, and then Tyrann Mathieu had to leave the game with a groin injury. Plus, your two best players, Kamara and Alave, are running around hurt. It's a miracle we were in the game to begin with. I predicted the Saints would win, and then lo and behold, Olave hurts his hamstring in practice, and then I find out for sure we're not going with the right guard, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I might want to change my prediction here. So I got to give them kudos for being in the game. They just haven't figured out how to win these close, tough ones yet, and I don't know how you teach that. On defense, and I didn't put the stats up for the players, but Adebo led the team with 12 tackles. The only way you get 12 tackles as a cornerback is if you're giving up receptions. But like I said, he's a big play waiting to happen one way or the other. He had a couple of pass interference calls that didn't accept because he had allowed the catch to happen, and then of course the one at the end that did stick. But he had an interception and three passes defensed. Pete Werner had six total tackles. Marshawn Lattimore had five total tackles and a pass defensed. Alante Taylor had four total tackles, two passes defensed. Chase Young had three tackles, including one for a loss. Peyton Turner had three tackles, including a strip sack, the only sack of the game from Peyton Turner. DeMarco Jackson had three total tackles. Granderson, Matthew, Gay, and Orgy both had all of them had two tackles. Granderson, Matthew, Gay, and Orgy. I want to talk about the defensive line. You're going up against a backup center. You're going up against a backup right tackle. I didn't see enough from this defensive line at all. If you were going to affect the game, this was the game. So I'm supposed to believe that Storm Norton at right tackle kicked Chase Young's ass all day. Well, apparently, him and Granderson, they didn't do much of anything. Matter of fact, the defensive tackles didn't do anything either. Between Colin Saunders, Brian Bresee, and Nathan Shepard, they each had one tackle, and that was it. I mean, nothing happening. How on earth can our defensive tackles go up against a backup center and that happens? I don't know what to say. Defensive line was awful today. Awful. I mean, did you get caught with your pants down? Did you think you didn't have to try very hard? Because I was saying in my preview video, they should get at least four sacks. And then I got to say, Dennis Allen, look, if your defensive line's not getting any pressure, maybe you need to blitz more. I'm going to blame the players on this one more than the coaching because overall the defense did do well. Overall, the offense did okay. I mean, we led in a lot of categories compared to the Falcons. The only one we didn't lead in was turnovers, basically. Yeah. We lost that one 2-1, and they got 14 points out of it without their offense being involved. We ran more plays than the Falcons, 25 to 14, or first downs, 25 to 14. The Falcons couldn't get anything going. The Falcons only converted four third downs all day, four out of 11 attempts. We were 7 out of 13, which is pretty good. Anything over 50% is pretty good. We even converted one of our two fourth down attempts. We stopped them. They only got in the red zone one time, and we stopped them from scoring a touchdown. They were 0 for 1 in the red zone. We were 3 of 4 in the red zone. Lots of stuff in our favor. We had a time of possession of 36 minutes to their 24. We had more rushing yards, 131 rushing yards for us, 88 for the Falcons. They only ran it 15 times, but we had more total yards, 366 to 315. More plays. We had 70 plays. They only had 51, but it only took two. to make this game what it was. So overall, I'm frustrated, I'm aggravated, and I think deep down it's because I realized that as long as McCoy's going to be hurt, and as long as our players are old and feeble, like it seems like it's happening right now, it really does. Even the young ones are having a hard time with them hamstrings and groins. So I've come to the conclusion that I don't think we're going to be good enough to really make a difference in the playoffs. If we can't find a way to win close games, if we are in it at the end and take the lead and we can't stop the other team from running it or passing it down our throat in the final minute and beating us, yeah, we're not going to win playoff games if we keep this up. And the injuries, it's just ridiculous. Now the Saints could easily turn this thing around. We win two in a row. These next two, especially against the Chiefs and the Bucks, and then you can start to feel better about the team. But yeah, there's still some things they haven't shown me they can quite do adequately yet, and that is defensively stopping the run, covering the tight end, putting the game away when you really need to in the final minute. The defense hasn't shown me that yet. Defensive line is just a failure this past week. It's unbelievable. I can't believe Cameron Jordan has to sit down and watch nothing happen. He probably isn't very happy. I don't think he would have done anything either, but something has to give, man. Well, how much more of a fire do you need lit under your ass than to have to go and put the Falcons away and claim this top of this division after the crap show we saw against Philadelphia? And forget about home field advantage. I think we play better on the road. And I don't know, maybe we needed another gris removal or something in the dome because it's awful. That's supposed to be an advantage. Eagles fans cheering because 15,000 of them were in the dome because season ticket holders sold their tickets because they didn't like the Saints a couple of months ago. Too fickle. The people that have season tickets, you guys need to keep it up the entire game. It's tough. The Saints don't give you nothing to cheer for, you're not going to cheer. I get it. But yeah, make sure when you sell your tickets, you sell it to another a Saints fan at least. I mean, come on, that was embarrassing to me. There were people that were at the game at the beginning of that Eagles game that said the decibels got so loud, and I hadn't heard it that loud since yada yada yada. But what I heard on TV was a bunch of Eagles fans cheering. Yeah, it's hard to cheer when after three quarters it's 3-0. Well, in this game we scored two touchdowns to open it up. We didn't get the ball for our first possession until halfway through the first quarter. So funny. I mean, the Falcons had the ball for half the quarter. They end up having to punt and then get a touchdown on the muff. And then we finally get the ball. We go down, score. They get the ball. We get the ball. We go down and score. Eagles get another give me touchdown. An interception return by Carr in that stadium again. Well, if all things play out like they did last year, we're going to serve them up a big can of whoop-ass when they come to the Dome later on this year. So the Saints are 2-2 now. Win two in a row, lose two in a row. Kind of feels like we've been in this situation before. We got the world champion Chiefs coming up. It's a Monday night game. I'll be doing a preview for that game in a couple of days. I'm Joe. This has been the review and reaction of Week 4 Falcons versus Saints. We drop one. We really lost to ourselves. Saints still have a lot to prove for us fans to feel good, and the injuries are not making it any better. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more videos about your Who Dats. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who Dat?